Have you ever had something to say and then went silent? Have you ever stumbled through the conversations thinking later, oh, that's what I should have said? Do you ever feel like there are times when your message gets completely lost in translation? Well, you're not alone, my friends. Get ready to up level your communication skills. My name is Kathy Riley. I am your host and communication expert with over 25 years in litigation and then another 15 as an entrepreneur. Our goal here is to share tools, systems, techniques guaranteed to shift the way you connect with others. From mastering the art of a tough conversation to cultivating the mindset that screams, I got this, you're going to learn how to break those bad habits and shatter communication barriers. I am super excited today because we have an amazing guest, a rock star, Miss Laura Armstrong, who is the CEO and founder of Wealth Mastery Systems. So let me tell you a little bit about this lady. She is an international speaker, an author, a martial arts grandmaster, and she specializes in helping entrepreneurs and small business owners master their wealth and develop a positive relationship with money so that they can elevate their revenue fast, live happier lives, and live their passion by adding more value to their clients. Please. Oh, and don't forget, she is the president of Achieve Canada. So love that. Welcome, Miss Laura. I am so excited that you are here today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kathy. I just really admire the way you help people, and I was so excited to come on today and be a part of what's developing here for you and get it out to the world.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for that. And here's the thing that, we're both entrepreneurs. And so for those that are listening, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, when we talk about mindset, when we talk about wealth, when we talk about owning our worth, it doesn't matter what you do for a living, you're going to gain a super juicy nugget here today with Miss Laura because she is there isn't anything this woman can't do. I tell you, and let me ask you this. So, have you ever, set a goal and then you've gotten up in the morning and you're like, I don't feel like doing it? What she's shaking her head, yes, for those of you that are listening. So she's like, we get this, we get this. So let me ask you this. What do you do or say or do to get yourself motivated to doing the thing that you need to do that you just don't feel like it?
It's an interesting question, and I feel like there's really one answer for that. I mean, there's multiple answers, but the main answer is for you to ask yourself, because I believe questions are a really powerful thing, is are you really aligned with your purpose? And I know we talk about purpose and it's a bit of a buzzword and all that stuff, but really your why is your purpose and your drive. So if you know what your drive is, what's driving you and what your purpose is, then you're golden. But most of the time we're missing one or the other. And so you really need to take a look at figuring out what makes you happy. That's it, right? And I'll tell you a little story if that's okay, Kathy.
Absolutely.
I was working in corporate for decades as a commodities trader. I was the only woman on the trading desk. I did international logistics and all that stuff. And after working there for a very long time, they packaged me out in a really bad way. And I took them to court and I'm like, that's it. And I felt so betrayed. I'm like, and I was already an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for 40 years. I had my businesses on the side. And I just decided at the age of 42, and I'm 58 now, I'm only doing things that make me happy and are fun for me to do, that help people and make me boatloads of money. And that was absolutely clear. And that was that moment of clarity that I still live in that space. Right. And it's just important for us to get super clear. Like you don't have to go through that big whole thing to get there, but really ask yourself those questions. And there's a way to dig deep around them so that you get some clarity. I'll give you a good example. Just make
Please.
a list of what makes you happy.
Yeah.
That's it. right? And how does that relate to your business? What's fun for you, right? And then that's going to start the wheels churning, and you'll need to adjust a few things that you're doing, but that's going to bring you more joy. And this is the thing about joy. It's actually our natural state, right? But
Mm,
in society, that is not what we see, right?
yeah.
So when someone's in joy, they're like, what are you on drugs or something, right? Like, so, but society is shifting to realize that that is actually where we're going. So that would be the one thing I would say to do. If you do nothing else, what makes you happy? Write it down, because you're going to find a lot of things that you didn't realize.
Oh, that is so good. So here, I love that. And one of the tools that I work with my clients and companies is not only identifying what makes you happy, but then make another list of what makes you unhappy. What are the things that you are like, ugh, you can't do, because that's the foundation of your core values. That's the foundation of moving forward, because then and this is what I think we, especially women, we need to learn how to delegate. If there is something that needs to happen and it makes you like you just dread it, and you can delegate it because you know it needs to get it done,
Yeah.
there you go.
And
There you go.
let's talk about this for a second, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
As women, we don't always value ourselves at the right price for what we offer. And this is a big part of being connected to your why, or why you're unhappy. If you trying to get this out in the right way. So
Yeah.
there's going to be stuff you hate to do. It's just life, right? Like I don't like systems. I don't like marketing. I don't like any of that stuff. I don't have time for it. It's not my genius, and I am certainly not the expert at it. I pay people to do that, right? But if you're at the point in your business where you can't quite afford that, what I want you to do is think about this. Make a list of how many courses, how many certifications, how much time, how much education you have not only spent time-wise on, but money-wise on.
Mm.
And figure out what you are worth an hour. And if that number is less than having a VA who does your email list or clean your house or whatever it is, you need to pipe that out, right? Because you only have
Yeah.
so much bandwidth. And I was at this seminar, and I have this screen in my head that I just can't get out. And it really has come to serve me well. Is this guy was talking about how we show up in society today. And he said, this is us. This is our trajectory. We're on a good trajectory here for growth as human beings. This is society. And the first time ever, society is moving faster than us.
Mm.
And so how does that make us feel? And that is why we are all in this state of overwhelm. And we need to recognize that so that we can take the steps so that we step out of that. But that's really how things are. And it's not your fault. It's beyond your control. And so what can you bring into your life that gives you that calmness, that lets you communicate more effectively? So there's not these like miscommunications, and there's not problems, right? And so it's just a really interesting dynamic that we're going through right now. And so we almost have to step up to that 150% instead of the 100 now. We're always higher achieving, and it can really take a toll on you.
And okay. So many questions are flying around. That's so powerful. Um, so, but let me ask you this, because I think this is going to go in a really juicy direction. As entrepreneurs, as human beings, and even as women in business, are you saying we can be happy and make money?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
For sure. I feel like there are three parts to this. The first is women are really good at sabotaging themselves, because their giving and receiving is usually more on the giving side, and they're not receiving as much as they do. Until you can receive pretty evenly, things will be stuck, right? You have to understand that you come first no matter what, and it's not a selfish thing. So there are a lot of limiting beliefs that I encounter around that. Well, I got to take care of them, that self-sabotage. I'm starting to do well, but then I've got to shut that down because, I don't want too many people to see me. All these things go through our heads. We don't need people talking bad about us. We talk bad enough to ourselves, right? And so you have to change the dynamic around that and reframe those thoughts. And the first question and the tip I would give you here is the thing that you can ask is this really true? Or have I just been telling myself that story, or my mom's been telling that, or someone else has been telling me that story, and I still want to be in the story? You don't need to be in the story. You're not that 8-year-old kid. You're not that child. You're a grown-ass woman who's going to take control of your life. And so you're going to choose that, right? So that would be the first thing I would say. Find out what your limiting beliefs are and ask if they're really true, or you're just a part of someone else's story, and reframe it. The second thing I would say, and we kind of talked about this, is know what your alignment with your purpose is. So dig deep on that. We already kind of chatted about that. And the third is, what is your mindset, right? Like your money mindset. So if you grew up like I did, I'll give you a good example. My mom, we lived into a middle to upper class household, but my mom had a poverty mindset, and so did my dad. And then my mom remarried, and my stepdad, that was fine because he was quite well off. But I always heard, we don't have enough. Money doesn't grow on trees, Laura. Well, it does in my house. I got a few orchards back there. So if you want me to pick you some money trees, or you want to plant some of mine, go right ahead. So, it's all the stories that we tell ourselves that have been given to us because we're the good son or daughter, and our parents are our guiding light to a certain age. But what we don't realize is we put our parents on this pedestal, probably unconsciously, and we think they can do no wrong to a certain degree, right? But what you have to realize is it doesn't matter whether they're wrong or right. What you have to ask yourself is it serving you?
Yeah.
And once you realize 99.9% of our stuff is not ours, who are you at the core of who you are? And this is where you will start to have transformation. So for a lot of people with the money mindset issues, I give them powerful affirmations and reframing and clearings around that so that they don't have to keep that stuff. Right? So that's
Yeah.
kind of like, you can make the money. You just need to get rid of the stuff in your way. And the good news about that is it's easy to get rid of.
Yes. But it takes the power of
Yes.
paying attention. So, um, I come from somebody who I am my mother's daughter, my grandmother's granddaughter, and I grew up in the Midwest. We were to be seen and not heard.
Right.
Okay, so for most of my life, I was up until my mid 30s. It was I was there for everybody else, and that led to not one, not two, 4 surgeries in 5 months. I nearly lost my life.
Right.
But it wasn't until I looked at my daughter and realized I didn't want her to be me, that I had to break that cycle
Yeah.
with two things. One, understanding that my parents, and I think this is something that everyone is humans, because we can get angry with the situation we're in when we start to think this is the programming from our past and our parents. Here's the thing about our parents. They did the best they could with the information they
Right.
had. So owning that space was powerful, knowing that they didn't set out to mess us up, to screw us up. They didn't, because they have their own story, and then their parents have their own story, right? So how do we break the cycle? And that's one, is paying attention. We speak at a rate of 150, 200 words per minute, depending on how fast we talk. But we can speak to ourselves up in our noodle up to 4,000 words per minute. We are chatty Cathy's up in our little head. And so the power of communication is not just words and what we say to each other, but it's what we say to ourselves, which is why what you're talking about is so powerful, because at the turning point here is the power of paying attention. And that's
Yes.
what
Bringing
you're saying.
awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me one thing that you work with your clients on this. How do you start them paying attention?
Well, once they tell me something that's gone on, I send them through a series of questions. And this is the thing. Really good mentors and coaches, they ask questions, right? And they get their clients to ask questions. Answers can stick you. They can stick you negatively. They can also stick you positively because then the answer's done. There's no more possibilities. So to get them into questions allows the awareness to come at its own time to them in a specific way for them. And it's again, is this real? And the second question is it serving me? Right? And
Mm-hmm.
once the awareness comes around that it's not serving you, then now we can change the dynamic because what happens automatically is your brain cognitively is like, oh, it's not serving me. I need to get rid of this. Right. And then we give them the tool to get rid of it. And that's it. Right. It's so simple. It's ridiculous. But we as humans like to complicate things so that I can be in my trauma and my drama and we don't even realize it. Right.
Yeah.
So simplify it so you have the awareness so that you can get rid of it. And maybe
Okay.
someone's not ready to get rid of it. You have to be okay with that too.
Right. And I want you guys, those that are listening to this, I want you to really hear that is identifying this, is paying attention, and that you can change. You can
Yeah.
so for example, when I hit my rock bottom and I realized that this is an introvert, right? So I was holding on to that story of being an introvert, and we're working with the coach, and he's like, the wallflower. You're a wall. You love being a wallflower. Why? What is it serving? How is it serving you? What is the benefits? And once I realized, well, it's not. It's just uncomfortable to be something
Right.
else.
Right.
Like, can you get comfortable being uncomfortable? Can you get comfortable doing something new? Well, heck yeah. Have you ever played a sport? You don't know what you're doing there, right? You suck at it at first, and then you get better the more you do it. So I
Yeah.
love what you're saying, because anyone who's listening right now, you can change. Anything that is holding you back right now, the stories you are telling yourself, Laura's the ex, you can change your story.
Yeah. I'll give you another good story. I competed in full contact weapons fighting at an international level. I have 3 titles. And I competed for almost 8 years internationally, before I won my first gold. And I remember thinking, what's wrong with me? Why am I only getting silver and bronze, silver and bronze, silver and bronze? And then I really took a look at it and what was missing for me to let go and let other people in to help me get to the next level. So at that time, we were competing in the Philippines. This was my competition happens every 2 years at that level. And it was my fourth one. So it's 8 years has gone by. And I fought nationally, internationally, locally, regionally, all that stuff. So I had a lot of fighting experience. And I'm like, this is it. This is going to be the year. Our coach steals money from our team as we're over there. So all of us, and has
Oh.
stopped coaching us. So there's 12 of us. And it was the best curse and the best blessing that ever happened because we all came together and we said, regardless of him being a you know what, we're going to band together and we're going to win gold. And that was the key that I needed to unlock to know that they had my back and that I was able to tap into more of myself and understand what I needed. So I wasn't going to get in my own way for that last little bit. Because when you fight, it's 3 rounds all out, 1 minute each. You think 1 minute's not a long time? When you're going full out, it's a long time. So by the third round, you're gassed, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
and my partner was really good. I was in the gold medal round, I remember, and I'm like, I'm not going to lose this. And I just kept going after her. I couldn't breathe. And you got a full mask, metal helmet on, and you're all like completely covered. And I couldn't breathe. And I don't know how my body did it, honestly. But it's really just about your mind, right? And so I fought and I fought and I thought, oh, it was close, right? I was sure, and I just never gave up. And then she started backing up in the third round because she got tired, right? I was tired, but I was like, when I saw that, it was like the Energizer Bunny possessed me and off I went, right? I was like, I got her now. I'm good. I'm good. And so the round finished, longest round of my whole damn life. I'll tell you that. And so you're standing in the ring and the ref's between you. He's got your hands and he's holding one of your hands and then he's like, winner. And my hand goes up, right? And I just stood there and I was like, holy shoot. I just won, right? I got my first championship title. And it was this moment, and I look over at the team, and they're all cheering me on. And it was this, and like I still get emotional thinking about this, right? And the tears, like it was just like 8 years of my life, right? And I finally did it, right? And so you have this moment where you're the best in the world, right? And I hope I can bring you all on this journey and the story with me. And what I want you to understand is you're the only one holding you back, right? You can be the best at what you do, and you probably are, but you can get rid of what's in your way. And so tap in and don't quit. Because what happened was after that, I started coaching champions. I have probably 21 gold medalists under my belt, and they have another 20 under their belts as instructors. You could create a legacy that would change the world. So don't forget that in your business. So I hope that story inspires you. But it was just this moment in my life when everything changed.
It's so, but on that journey is just listening to you as you're giving it your all, and you're like, and your inner thoughts were like, this sucks, but I got it, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna, and then but you mentally, you held out more than your opponent because she took a step back, and that's when you're like, now I know I got it. I got it. And that's the power. What we say to ourselves, it sets us up for success or failure, quite honestly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's so powerful. So I love that. You also mentioned something else, is having people in your corner. Okay, so having your team, knowing what you know about business, about relationships, about, success. How important is it to surround yourself with people who are like-minded and who see what's the potential?
It's funny because I, as a strong woman, and I don't know if you've heard about the Sigma women, look it up.
Mm-mm.
It's really
Okay.
interesting. These are the women who sit on top of a mountain and they don't really need anybody, but they want to be with people, right? And so what I realized was I was so strong that I was of the mindset where I didn't need anybody. And this was actually something that was holding me back, even though I was super powerful. And then when it was interesting, you'll laugh when I tell you this. So my girlfriend says, she was a little bit psychic and she's like, you're going to meet this guy and he's going to teach you how to receive. And I'm like, I just laughed it off. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I end up meeting my husband.
Uh-huh.
And it was the hardest relationship of my life. He was old school. He was polite. He had this core of kindness and he had to teach me how to receive from him on so many
Ah,
levels that it reflected in my business. My business changed because now I realized how much support I needed. And I always work with people who are way above me because that's where I want to be. And you should be moving past your mentors and finding new mentors and more mentors who are higher than you and aspire to that. I have coaches and mentors that I work with and they push me and they really piss me off sometimes. And when they piss me off,
yes,
I know that that's the growth, right? Like, you know what I'm
yeah,
talking about, right?
you're on the
If you're
right
not,
path. All right.
yeah, you mentioned it, like be comfortable being uncomfortable because that's where change happens. And so, like, it's so key to have that support. And now that, so many years later, obviously it's my go-to. Who are the 5 people you're hanging out with? Because if they're not above you, where are you going? Right?
Nice.
And find another tribe because those people, you can still love on them, but you need to move. And that means you need to be with people who are going to push you and drive you. Right? Um,
Yeah.
but, yeah. So, like, it's so true. It's so true.
It's very important. I love it. I love it. And I also say, because I've come from a bad marriage. I call him, my first husband, idiot. Okay, there's no
Right.
other better way to describe him. It was idiot. and he had his good moments, which is why I fell in love with him. But he also was always told me what was wrong. Like there wasn't much kindness that came out of his mouth, except when he wanted something.
Right.
Um, and so for those people who are listening who have an idiot, maybe not as high a idiot as what I have, but
Yeah.
I've got family members who don't see where I'm going. They don't see what I bring to the table. Um, I know what I say to people. What do you say to people who have someone in their circle because they're related to them, because they live with them, because they work side by side with them, who don't see the potential? They don't inspire, right? They got that stinking thinking constantly. How do you recommend, excuse me, people navigating uh, a stinker?
Yeah, I use one phrase and it works for everybody. Well, that's an interesting point of view.
Oh, juicy. You guys say that again.
It's just an interesting point of view. And, if it's going to piss them off, just say it in your head, because what that will do is change the energy and charge around the conversation so that you can exit. And you don't have to be around that. Well, that's an interesting point of view. I had it happen to me the other day, and they didn't know what to say because there's nothing to say. It's just interesting, right?
Oh,
That's what I
yeah.
use. Yeah.
And I use that because in the corporate atmosphere, you don't have a choice. Like if you're in a team meeting and something like, right, I preface it with thank you. That's an interesting, um, let's come back to that kind of thing, right? So where I'm going to hear you
Yeah.
in my head, I'm saying this serves no one, including myself. So we're just going to put a pin in it and move on. So I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then I always suggest for people who, you've got them in your family, they don't need to know everything about everything about everything. Like the path that you're on, you don't need to share that with everyone.
No.
And you don't need to get them to buy in, right?
Yeah. No. Buy in for yourself. And those who want to come along will, those who won't. I don't really get support from my family members. I don't talk to most of them. And my life is better because of that. And it's okay. You can let that go. You don't have to hold it. You don't have to think that you need that. Decide what you want and then what you need, right? And so
Yeah.
just do what feels good for you and don't do it out of obligation. That would be the one thing I would tell you not to do, because that's just trapping yourself and you're going to be stuck.
Oh, okay. So I know we've got to wrap up. There's so much. So one of the things that I wanted to ask, you have got like you have all this genius, right? On different layers, grandmaster, I mean, great googly moogly. You've got lots of layers to your business.
Yeah.
How are you so successful?
I would say that it's not all tea and roses, right? Like it's been a hard journey that's gotten easier because I know that I don't have to make it such a hard journey. And I put the key players in place for my business and my life. I only do things that make me happy and are fun for me. And what I do has to help people on a personal and professional level. And I only do things that make me boatloads of money. Don't get me wrong. Like I do a lot of self-defense and empowerment, and I do some free stuff, and I give people so much value so they can go and change their lives if they do or don't work with me. But I love my relationship with money because money makes me happier. And I take a lot of shame, and guilt from people for this. And it makes me laugh because that's really reflecting on them. Right. And so I'm like, that's interesting. Right. So like, right. And so, I'm successful because it's a choice I made to embrace that. And it just comes down to choice. What do you want? And then find the people who will help you to get there
I
and
love
step
that.
into action. That would be like my last thing, Kathy. If you can have it in your brain all you want, but if you don't do anything about it, nothing's going to happen. So stop talking
Yeah.
about it and start doing it.
How important is it for, all these layers that you have going on to be in alignment with your mission, vision, values?
It took me a while to get there
Yeah.
because I really, what I did is It's an interesting story. I'll be quick. One of my friends, she's kind of a genius, and she's like, all right, you do too many things. I need to figure it out. So we wrote down everything that I did. And she goes, I want you to pick the 5 things that you love the most. And I did. And she goes, that's your business. And we're going to put them together. And then that's kind of when it happened. I was like, and then I wasn't scattered anymore. I could have all these other things, but those were the things that were my core. So find what your genius is, what you love, and just do it and do it and do it and make lots of money and help lots of people, and then go do other things. But do it for a year. There's this really cool article, and I'll give it to you to post. This woman,
Okay.
she talks about your 5 wants. You do them for a year, you'll be a millionaire. And it was just a really interesting little YouTube video. And so it's that one thing. What do? Don't offer 30 things. I'm not saying don't offer it, but be clear on the one thing, get genius at
Yeah.
that, and then expand. Because I find if we're throwing spaghetti at the wall, then that shows up in the rest of our life as well.
Totally agree with you. And then as somebody who's, a speaker and an entrepreneur and all of that, once I was able to really figure out the foundation of my business,
Right.
explosion, right?
Yes.
So being an aligned and understanding, the words, mission, vision, values, core values, all of that, it's so powerful. So I love that. Oh my gosh, Miss Laura. So you one last question before we get into this little popcorn thing is what's one little nugget for somebody who's struggling with I want to make money, but I've struggled with feeling worthy. What's one thing that our audience can do to shift their perspective about, money is not shameful. it, because you can do so much more with it. We can own our worth. What's one little piece of advice? I know you have many.
Yeah, just like I told you, ask yourself if it's real or is it someone else's, and what would it look like? What would it look? What would your vision look like if you had unlimited money?
Oh,
Because now you're living in your vision, which is the energy of your genius, right? So is it real? And is it serving you? And what, if you had unlimited money, what would you do with that? Because if you can't get yourself out of the bills and the debt and that mindset, because most of us are in that every single day, all the time. Think about how many times you think about money a day,
yeah.
right? Then it's going to be a tough go. You don't have to stay there. Ask yourself the questions. Have the awareness around it. I can guarantee you it's not real. You may be in a real situation, but what are you going to do to change it? Reframe the words. Your words are powerful, so use it.
Oh, mic drop. Love it. All right. So for those that are listening, how can they talk to you? Because I think there's going to be people lining up wanting to talk to
Yeah,
you.
sure. Yeah, go to talkwithlaura.com and book a call with me. I'd love to hear more about you and just see if there's a possible collaboration there. And I just want to hear what you do because I love people.
Oh, so good. And for clarification, for those that are listening, Talk with Laura is
Mm.
LAURA.com.
Yeah,
So talk with Laura. So schedule time with her. She's an absolute fantastic woman. I appreciate you here, but I have a couple questions before we sign off.
sure.
So if you were to take stage, okay, because I know music has power as well. What would be your walk-on song?
Oh, I struggle with this. I have two. It would be Money by Pink Floyd. The other one would be September by
Oh,
yeah, I love that song
do
because it
you
really gets
remember?
people in the groove and the energy of being in a good place to listen and manifest.
Oh, so good. So good. Oh, I have memories of that. But let's okay. So would you say you are a morning person or night person?
I'm a recovering morning person, but because I get up so early, my night person goes to bed so early, but I do love the evening to relax. The morning, I'm a powerhouse.
Yeah.
So I would say to get stuff done, I'm more of a morning person, yes.
And then night to recover.
Yeah, to chill out and relax. And I love being social. I love stuff like that. Oh yeah,
Okay. Sweet or salty?
killing me. Salty.
Salty. All right. If you were to have a scrumptious dinner, would be at home, a home cooked meal, or out at a restaurant?
Oh, Michelin star.
Okay. If you were craving something really, really yummy, would you eat it or drink it?
So much. Do they have chocolate wine? Probably wine.
Maybe a
Yeah,
little bit of
sorry.
both,
It's a
chocolate
drink.
with
It's a
wine.
drink. Yeah,
Me for yummy, it's a nice glass of wine that's just like,
right.
oh, it warms you up inside. Okay, are you beach or mountain?
Beach,
Beach, love it. And if you were to read, is it paper or Kindle?
paper.
Paper, love it. And to kind of chill out when it comes to, is it a movie, right? Or is it like a binge on like Netflix, like a series?
I would say a bit of both, but movie gets me out of the house and it's more of an experience. So I love that. Movie.
Movie. I love it. What was the last movie you saw?
It's been a while. There hasn't been something great out. That's probably one of the Marvel movies. It was a while ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a
Right?
Marvel person too. I
Yeah, it's
love
been,
watching all
I
that.
need
Yeah.
Marvel movies. I'm going through withdrawal. Yeah,
I refuse to get rid of Disney Plus because I rewatch the Marvel movies. I
absolutely.
love it. So thank you so much for your time here today, Miss Laura. You're absolutely fantastic. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Breaking Bad Communication. Thank you so much for being here, listening and tuning in. But before we sign off, don't forget to subscribe. And if you like what you heard today and it resonates with you, or you know somebody else who needs to hear this, please share, tag someone. Know this: the quality of your life is directly determined by the quality of your communication. So as you head back out into the world, remember every conversation is your chance to shape your life and the lives of others. Whether it's a tough conversation, a casual chat, be clear, be intentional, and listen like it matters because it really does. The better you communicate, the more your life aligns with what you truly want. So get out there, own your voice, use your words. Giddy up, my friends.